This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Tuesday, January the 10th, 2023. Thanks so much for coming along. Coming up a little later in today's program, I talk with Lee Kinnard of Farmers for Sustainable Food and Edge Dairy. We talk about sustainable practices and what they're doing to revolutionize the dairy industry. We'll also have a look at your ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down those markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. We're at the end of another trading day, and we're talking with Kaden Sweeney right now of agmarket.net. Kaden, what did we see in those markets today?
Yeah, kind of a tale of two different markets today, and we're actually going to close kind of in the middle of the two, I guess. So early on, corn and beans both down, beans down 11, corn down 3 or so. And then about mid-morning, 11 o'clock, beans were up 11 and corn was up 10.5 as well. And that also sold off. We're going to close either side of unchanged on both of those. So I think the trade market's just showing you that it doesn't want to get too far one way or another going into this WASI on Thursday. Seems pretty happy just staying status quo.
So what was it that really caused that momentum shift, earlier this morning?
Yeah, I think it could be a few things. Top of my head, I would guess it'd be more, people just getting positioned for Thursday. Kind of felt like we were getting too low going into the report. So, had some people taking profit there, getting back the other way. But I don't know if you look at the trade estimates going into this thing, I think there's a little bit of bearishness expected as compared to the November, December reports. But also you don't want to go into that thing just on a big downtrend and only leave yourself room to the upside. So I think it's a good thing. I think you just see the market working like it's supposed to, kind of swinging back both ways and finding where it wants to be.
And you mentioned maybe a little more bearish. I mean, we're supposed to get our final estimates from 2022, get those final numbers. Are we expecting any major shifts on production or even on demand?
Yeah, and the answer is no, really. And the important thing there to note is the estimates. It's always a little bit scary going into a report that's usually as exciting and of magnitude as this one. And the trade's really only looking for a yield change on corn of 0.2 a bushel per acre and beans 1/10. So I think if there's room for a surprise, I think it would probably be on corn yield. I gotta say I'm kind of in line with where the trade is. I think 172.5 is pretty close, but I think you got to keep an eye on that as a producer, just in case they'd come in like 174. This corn market would be hurting.
Now, of course, I know we're paying a lot of attention to what's going on in Brazil and Argentina, and that's going to be more fluid now as we move, through their growing season. I mean, what are we hearing out of those two countries?
Yeah, kind of the same as it has been, I guess, from my end. Argentina certainly has had its troubles, but at the side of the coin that I think is important to remember is Brazil's looking pretty good. And so, just for example, numbers I've seen, if Brazil is 20 million metric tons above projected and Argentina comes in 5 million lower or even 10 million lower, you're still at a net positive out of South America as far as what was projected. So definitely something to keep an eye on. We're just barely starting to get combines rolling in Brazil and start getting those beans online. But I just have a feeling that it's not going to be quite as detrimental as maybe is expected right now, and as detrimental we've seen the last 2 years of La Nina.
All right. Now, moving over to the livestock side of things, Kaden, I mean, were those livestock markets able to take advantage of some of those lower prices earlier with the grain markets?
Well, cattle have. Hogs still don't look very good. To start there, we're sub 80 again on February contract, and we need to see 76.40 hold. That's the major low that we've made really in the last 6 months. So need to see that hold and hopefully kind of see some support come in there. As far as cattle go, fat cattle look really good. They held their 20-day moving average again like they have been. kind of rebounded, sold off a little bit today off the highs, but still look really good. And then feeders still hanging on to that 20-day moving average, but they're still holding support as well. So cattle certainly look better than hogs right now, and we just hope to see some rescue come to the hog market soon.
All right. Well, if folks want to talk about their market strategies and what things they should be looking out for here as the weeks go on in this new year, how do they get in touch with agmarket.net?
Yep. Yeah. Just go to our website. You can reach anybody on our team from there and get a free trial of kind of what we offer, just agmarket.net. And my line directly, if you want to reach me, is 815-691-2672.
All right. Well, Kaden, thanks so much for the insight and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
That was Kaden Sweeney with agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the numbers closed, courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. March corn up 2 1/4 at $6.55 even. May up 1 1/2 at $6.54 1/2. December new crop down a penny at $5.89 1/4. March soybeans down 3 1/2 at $14.85 even. May down 4 1/4 at $14.89 1/4. November new crop down 1 1/4 at $13.90 1/2. Soy meal down $1.40 at $468.90 per ton. Soy oil down 78 cents at $62.57. Chicago wheat down 12 3/4 at $7.37 1/4. Minneapolis wheat down 7 3/4 at $8.89 3/4. Kansas wheat down 16 1/4 at $8.09 even. May oats up 1 1/2 at $3.39 3/4. February live cattle unchanged at $157.75. April up 12 cents at $161.65. March feeder cattle 20 cents higher at $186.50. February hogs down $1 at $79.80. Pork cutouts down $1.20 at $87.80. Class 3 milk down 17 cents at $19.53. And that's been our ag market recap. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, we talk with Lee Kinnard of Farmers for Sustainable Food. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Well, I had the chance just before the end of the year last year to talk with Lee Kinnard of Edge Dairy and Farmers for Sustainable Food. We talked about sustainability practices in the dairy industry, what his operation is working on, and things that people are doing to help better what they're doing on their farming operations and be more responsible to the environment. Here's what he had to share. We're talking with Lee Kinnard right now of Edge Dairy. Lee, thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Thanks for having me today, Dustin.
All right, so let's talk about some of the issues. I mean, obviously dairy is just like anybody else, whether it's corn, soybeans, pork. I mean, supply chain and sustainability and all that kind of stuff is going on. What are we doing to look to the future and connecting those together and keeping that sustainability going, and how can the supply chain help that, especially under the circumstances it's finding itself?
Well, I think, yeah, as you said, sustainability is the buzzword right now, has been for quite some time. Farmers, by their very nature, sustainability has been built in. We tend to look very generationally. But when we start looking at the supply chain, hey, it's not just the farmer, the producer. It also requires the input from our processors, from our retailers, from all of those involved in getting the food from the farm to the consumers. So really, it's been an interesting collaboration here as we work together. Really for the first time through Farmers for Sustainable Food, we're pulling all of the interested parties together to work through sustainability issues and seeing how we can improve all the way through from one end of the line to the other.
Now, obviously, it's not without challenges, which we know. I mean, it all depends on how you're hauling the milk. I mean, obviously, trucks, it's costing money. Whatever venue you're taking, there's challenges. How are you helping address that, and what kind of things are you guys talking about to help fill in these gaps?
Well, really, a lot of the discussion does focus over on, hey, what can the farm itself do? But as you said, I mean, there's definitely things that we can do throughout the entire chain to improve our sustainability. When we really want to look at really making, moving the needle on sustainability, we've got to really look at the producer and talk regenerative agriculture, but we really do need the input of the processor, the consumer, the retailer, as to, hey, what is their definition of sustainability? And does that indeed match the farm side's a definition of sustainability? An interesting aspect to the work we've been doing is we're not only including the processor, we're not only including the producer, the retailer, we're also bringing in environmental interest groups, and that really is a game changer where you have all of those folks sitting at a table, working together for a common goal.
And what are you seeing in the farmer response to being able to be more sustainable? Some of it, what you look at, and looking at it from a 30,000-foot view, it seems like kind of in a way of doing things the older way we used to do them with new technologies to make it better, because it's not about, you want to get the most out of your production, but some of the things we were doing weren't that far off from sustainability. It's just how do we make it better, how do we make it pay?
Well, and there's no doubt about it, that is the million-dollar question. How do you get people to adapt to the new technology? A lot of the work that we've really focused on is really going back to, hey, what is the definition of sustainability? It's got to work economically, it's got to work environmentally, and it's got to work in our communities. And I think that's really been the key in getting adoption rates up high. We can't cost share our way. We can't regulate our way to a sustainable definition. We've got to actually figure out ways that, hey, this is going to work. It's going to hit all three of those blocks. And I think, farmers are great business people. They're great stewards. They're great environmentalists. They love their communities. So these are all good fits. I think really a lot of times the missing key is, okay, how do we take some of that risk out of making that change? And do we have some proven dynamics in place that show that the economies actually do work, that it does indeed make your business more sustainable?
All right. So now looking at some of the practices, things that are going on, some of the technology, what's been some real game changers you've seen in recent time?
I think one of the things that I've seen in our local producer-led watershed in northeast Wisconsin, Peninsula Pride Farms, one of the things that I've really seen change there is the adoption rate of cover cropping and no-till. It has been huge. You can fly over the region and see it. You can drive down the roads and see it. Fields go into the winters green. They come into the spring green. I'm just amazed at 5 or 10 year transition period, how quickly that's happened. And I think the thing that's got along with that is quantifying those results. We're doing a lot of biomass studies where we're actually looking at, hey, how much biomass did we produce? And conversely, what does that do to organic matter? What does it do to soil health? So a lot of that research is ongoing right now, and some of the results are out. They're very positive, and the local producer-led watersheds are doing a fantastic job of sharing that news, getting it out there.
And obviously, this kind of sustainability goes beyond the dairy industry, and we're talking, on the edge dairy perspective, though. How does that work, that regenerative agriculture, the cover crops, how does that tie back into making a dairy successful?
Again, to be successful, you've got to have a couple of things. You've got to have sustainability, the definition of economic viability is a big part of that. I think the other thing that is sometimes not talked about when we talk about sustainability is that next generation. We're all going to need to be replaced at some time, and there's been an awful lot of interest because of the adoption of technology, because of the adoption of science. It's a different type of person needed to be that next successful agriculturalist. And I think that's a really important component that we're feeling and seeing the change, that I think people are realizing, hey, our future agriculturists are going to be our brightest and our best. They're going to understand science, they're going to understand environmentalism, they're going to understand how to tie all of these things and bring them back together. So, really those are the changes that we can visibly see. You tie that in then with economics. Again, if a person can figure out a way to show that economically this is actually better, on top of being environmentally better, it's a no-brainer.
So whether it's someone who's looking at maybe starting, small or getting going into the conservation farming and sustainability practices that we've talked about, or maybe it's someone who's already started and wants to take that next step, what's the best way for them to get some information, to get some backing, to get some support to do that kind of change?
I think there's some phenomenal resources out there. Very proud to be on the board of Farmers for Sustainable Food. They've got a really huge web presence, and no doubt about it, if you reach out to them, they'll be more than happy to point you to a local producer-led watershed group. Attend a local producer-led watershed group. Our group does a monthly conservation conversation. It's a field day. Farmers love attending field days, seeing, feeling, touching. We are just, unbelievable success in farmers that you've never seen at these meetings before, just showing up. So I think, look around a little bit. We're becoming pretty widely known.
All right, well, Lee, I thank you so much for your time today and appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, Dustin.
That again was Lee Kinnard of Farmers for Sustainable Food here on Ag Matters PM. Let's run down that ag weather outlook. Well, the sun is shining here in Des Moines today, but clouds are beginning to increase, kind of going from that partly cloudy to that partly sunny aspect. Clouds are kind of building up across the state, but for how long? Well, Mother Nature's kind of doesn't know what she wants to do and kind of off of her meds the next couple of days as far as cloud cover. Let's see what the next 24 hours has in store from the National Weather Service. Well, as we look at the forecast here for today and tomorrow, as we said, Mother Nature seems to be off her meds and can't make up her mind. Today, we're going to see clouds increasing across the state, and we're going to see highs anywhere from the low 30s to the low 50s. Then tonight, clouds will begin to decrease statewide. We could see some patchy fog, especially in the north central parts of the state. We'll see lows tonight in the mid to upper 20s. And then tomorrow, clouds will be back on the increase once again, and we'll see highs anywhere from the low 30s to the mid 40s. Looking at the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee, look for mostly cloudy skies in 32, Shenandoah partly sunny in 44, Des Moines partly sunny in 40, Waterloo partly sunny in 37, Albia partly sunny in 44, and Clinton mostly cloudy, some patchy fog, and a high of 43 degrees. And that's been our ag weather outlook. For more detailed forecasts in your area, tune to your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been Ag Matters PM. For all their content, 3, 2, I was going to say something about my Brazil trip too. 3, 2, 1. And that's been our ag weather outlook. And with that, we come to the end of today's show. But before we do, just letting you all know that on Thursday, I'm leaving the country to head to Brazil on a 12-day tour of the agriculture industry in Brazil. We'll get to see corn, soybeans, cotton, coffee, sugar, and more. We'll send back information here to the studios in Iowa, and we'll have that coming up in further segments of AMPM, so be watching for that. And, of course, all that's made possible by a great support from Pivot Bio. You can find all our content, though, online at iowaagnet.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, and on our YouTube channel. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified each time we put up more video content. You can also subscribe to our free Twice Daily Market podcast on Google, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.